Hola, buenas tardes. Muchas gracias por acompañarnos. Estamos transmitiendo desde la Biblioteca Benjamín Franklin en la Ciudad de México. Muchas gracias a la gente que nos están acompañando también aquí. A la gente que está virtualmente siguiendo esta conferencia, les invitamos a que escriban preguntas y nosotros las pasaremos al orador de esta tarde. También a los que están aquí presentes con nosotros vamos a poder hacer preguntas para que también si van tomando nota lo podemos hacer y si lo quieren hacer en español lo podemos hacer y trataremos de interpretarlo. Esta tarde vamos a escuchar a Terry Jones. Él es, entre muchas otras cosas, fundador de Travelocity y es parte también de muchas otras, de algunas otras compañías. Y lo voy a leer en inglés para que también lo escuchen otras audiencias. Terry Jones, best known for founding Travelocity and serving as founding chairman of kayak.com. Terry Jones has become a powerful voice in the world of entrepreneurship through his numerous speaking engagements and the publication of his book on innovation. His career path has established him as a thought leader on innovation in our increasingly digital world. Jones, while Chief Information Officer at the Division of American Airlines, led a team of 6 working on a project that became Travelocity.com. He later became part of the founding team of kayak.com, a company that yet again revolutionized how travel was purchased. Today, he's the chairman of Wayblazer and managing principal of On Inc., a consultancy he founded to help companies in their transition to the digital economy. A member of several boards, holder of several patents, and venture capitalist. It's an honor to introduce Terry Jones. Welcome. Thank you, Terry. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you very much, and good evening, and thanks for coming out tonight. It's an honor to be here and be sponsored by the U.S. Department of State and the Embassy. I've had a great day. Yesterday I was here speaking at the Large Electronic Commerce Conference that's here in town, and today I was at Tech Monterrey with a couple of hundred students, and I spent some time with them and with many businesses and got a chance here to talk to several of you who are starting new businesses. So congratulations to all the entrepreneurs who are here. How many people here are entrepreneurs? Okay, so many. And some people in traditional businesses. So I want to talk today about disruption. I want to talk about turning disruption off and turning innovation on. Because we've seen disruption in music and lodging and limousines and payments. And leaders are worried. They're worried whether their company can keep up with the pace of change. And by the way, I will give you these slides at the end. No, you can take pictures all you want, but I will give you the slides. So I'll show you where to get them so you don't have to be like this. You don't have to worry. So they're worried about the pace of change. And I don't know about you, but I get up in the morning and I feel like that guy on the rocket sled, the guy whose face is being peeled back by the forces of change. Because change is affecting all of us. And it doesn't just mean change in your business. So a few weeks ago I was in Cincinnati, Ohio. I saw this picture on the wall of steamships on the Ohio River in 1848. And I thought about how quickly those steamships went away. With the completion of the diesel engine, the U.S. railroad network was finished, poof, they were gone. But it's not just about your business, it's about what's upstream and downstream from you that can make a difference. Because if you zoom in on that picture, you see the boiler yard, the copper shop, the steam engine repair shop, the paint shop. They all went away too. So you have to look at what might affect your business or where is the opportunity. Self-driving cars, we're talking a lot about them, particularly about truck drivers. In the United States, it's the #1 job for high school educated men, truck drivers. Going to go away. Insurance will change because self-driving cars don't crash. Parking, well, maybe I never have to park it. Auto dealers, well, maybe I won't own a car, I'll just rent one. Real estate, we won't need places to park. Deliveries will be done automatically. Hotels, maybe I won't get a hotel tonight. I'll just sleep in the car while it drives across the country, right? How about healthcare? The number one cause of emergency room visits in the U.S. is car wrecks, right? Billboards. I never look out of the car anymore. I don't have to look out to drive. I'm just going to look at my phone the whole time, right? And even traffic police, because self-driving cars don't speed. All gone, maybe. That could be a disruption if you're a traffic cop, or an innovation if you find some way to say that industry is going to change, I want to be part of it. So I want to talk about who and what is likely to disrupt your business, and more importantly, what can you do about it? So let's start with forces of disruption, technological forces of disruption. When I started my career 50 years ago, it was IT phase one. IT was about adding up the books, managing sales, making reservations, systems of record. But then the big change was connectivity. We started connecting systems. The internet, built for communications during a nuclear war, actually did something else. It allowed information to escape. Information found its freedom. Information is being beamed to us all the time, and as customers, we are empowered by that information. But many people forget that at the beginning of the internet, the information really only flowed one way. It was a tiny bit up and a lot more back, which is why the first Yahoo page looked like this, and the first Travelocity page looked like that. And there was another reason. You remember that? It was really slow. It was really slow, and yet, even that limited connectivity equaled great opportunity for disruption and created IT phase two, systems of engagement. The first systems when we engaged our customer online. That was a huge change. Computers didn't do that before. And it disrupted music and mapping and news and real estate and directories and, of course, travel. And then we had another change because suddenly speed went up, bandwidth increased, and users began to create information. So they turned the internet into a two-way street. They started writing and selling and rating. My friend Rich Barton, who started Expedia and Zillow, says, if it can be rated, it will be rated. So buyers no longer share experiences over the backyard fence. Now they sell them one-to-many over the network on sites like TripAdvisor, where they have 140 million hotel reviews. No one goes anywhere without reading a review today. Now, at the same time, we became mobile with all this information. 7 billion cell phones in the world, 5 billion of them network connected, 2 billion of them smartphones, where we're constantly consuming and creating data, 1 trillion images a year. Half of Priceline's bookings are mobile. If you're not in mobile, you're not in the game. So all these new devices and new means of communication have changed that little stream of data that was being created back when Bill Gates was a kid on a teletype to a raging torrent of data created by the Internet of Things, by your Apple Watch, by your iPad. A torrent of data. And that's where big data has come from. 2.5 quintillion bytes of data every day. What to do with it all? Where to put it? Luckily, the price of computing, storage, and communications has fallen dramatically, so we invented the cloud. Now, what is the cloud? Well, the cloud just means instead of your own data center, use someone else's, like Amazon's or Microsoft's. Why is that important? Because it's instantly available, insanely inexpensive, and infinitely scalable. And easy. It's extremely easy to use computing in the cloud. And that's why 2 guys and a dog in Silicon Valley now have the computing power of the world's largest corporations. That is a true game changer. That is fueling so many startups because suddenly they have inexpensive access to tremendous computing power, highly disruptive. Now, we're also seeing disruption by algorithms. Advanced mathematics applied against big data. So Facebook News, driven by algorithms. Looks like that may not be such a great idea, right? Half of the New York Stock Exchange trades done by algorithm. Blockchain, the basis of Bitcoin, is an algorithm. But much more important than Bitcoin is what it's going to do to contracts, what it's going to do to auditing. Nest is a thermostat, but really it's a set of algorithms that save energy. Right? So algorithmic change is disruptive. Now, as we put technologies together, they get more powerful. So put big data together with cloud and connectivity, we get the Internet of Things. We're talking with someone who's experimenting with IoT. There was another company this morning, 38 billion IoT devices by 2020. It could be beacons. So when I walk by a beacon, I get an offer on my phone. It could be a pill bottle that ensures I've taken the drugs. I'm part of the Internet of Things. Because 2 years ago, I had a tiny paperclip-size sensor injected into my chest that monitors the performance of my heart and every night tells the doctor if my heart is okay. So I'm IoT. I think it's kind of cool, right? Customers are disruptive because geographic barriers are eliminated, price information is everywhere, buyer experiences are shared. We have extremely empowered buyers today who are consuming endless product info. They're crowdsourcing consideration. They're short-circuiting traditional distribution and going perhaps directly to the manufacturer and around the shop and around the salesman. Let me go back to big data because I think it may be the most disruptive technological force of all. 90% of the world's data created in the last 3 years. 80% of that data is unstructured. It's blogs, it's video, it's audio, it's posts. It doesn't fit well in traditional row and column computing. But that complexity equals quite an opportunity. The opportunity to simplify. The opportunity to simplify. And create IT Phase 3, which are systems of insight. Systems that can make sense out of big data. But we have issues in doing that because we have increasing amounts of unstructured data, and traditional computing is unsuited for its analysis. Enter AI. So if data is the oil of the 21st century, then AI is the refinery of the 21st century. And AI isn't coming in the future, it's here now in your self-driving Tesla, in your Amazon Echo, in your Roomba vacuum, in Siri, in things we see around us every day. These are systems that can make sense out of the data in which we are drowning. And I think that AI is the new UI. AI is the new user interface. Because, first, we can get richer input from our customers, whether that's through chat, or natural language, or gestures, or wearables. We can learn more about what the customer wants. So I'll give you an example. This is Travelocity. Hasn't changed since 1996. Where do you want to go and what day? But that isn't what you think when you're going on a trip. You say, I want to go to an island with my family and play golf and have kids' activities. But you can't ask that question online. Well, you could ask it of Google. You could say, what's the best hotel in Hawaii? You know what Google says? There are 10 million answers. Would you like me to read them to you one by one? Search provides clues. We'd like to provide advice. We'd like to discover consumer intent. And then we can have perfect selection of products. So, at leading hotels in the world, my new company, Wayblazer.ai, you can actually just say, I want an island resort for kids, and we'll give you an island resort for kids. And if you say an island resort for kids in November, look, they change, right? Because in November, different hotels are available. Looks pretty simple, actually. Hard to understand natural language for computers. We can also fix the output, so we can take a raw image like this and have the computer scan it to create tags. This is a man, a woman, a sunset, and a pool. That's interesting. But then we run it through our syntax processor and say, what is the meaning of this picture? And it said, oh, the meaning is romantic. So if someone wants a romantic vacation, don't show them the front of the hotel, show them that. And we can do the same thing with reviews. So the software says, well, there's the words fishing and family and spa and lazy river and pool here. What are the concepts? The concepts are water sports and outdoor activities. So if someone's looking for a hotel with outdoor activities, this could be the right hotel. And by the way, show them that review. So thus we can provide better answers. So if you say a couple's hotel in Barcelona with a great spa near the beach, we can show the right hotel with the right description, the right image, the right opinion of the crowd, and the right opinion of the expert. And when you do that, guess what happens? People buy. More people buy because you answered their question. These are some of our results. 81% improvement in search quality. Most importantly, down at the bottom, a 17% lift in conversion. 17% more people buying the product. That's money to the bottom line. Using AI. Let's try a harder question. Hotels in Singapore for our anniversary near Emerald Hill. Under $10,000, flying out of Dallas. We'd also like a business class ticket. The hotel should have a beautiful pool starting October 3rd. Well, the average consumer searched the average travel searcher visits 38 sites to do that. People spend endless hours. But what? If you just ask that question, so this is a new product we just introduced for Emirates. They called it Emma, or Emma Ritz, I guess. And there's that question. Here's the answer. So you see on the left, the system said, Emma, okay, I understood romantic anniversary with a pool, 2 adults, business class, so on and so forth. And here are some I can recommend to you. So you'll see here, there's Emerald Hill. So you can see the hotels around Emerald Hill. Guess what? All the pictures of a pool, right? And the next question it's going to say is, well, actually there isn't another question because in this case the consumer asked it all. But if they just asked a little, it would say, well, who are you going with? When are you going? And that's what we call conversational commerce, done completely without a person. Very powerful way to get an answer. So commerce is going to be changed quite a bit by AI and by voice. These devices, I think, are radically going to change e-commerce. So if you go to Amazon today to ask for toilet paper, down the left you'll probably get 30 products. Across the top you'll get the promoted ones, and on the right you get the ones where people are paying. What happens if you ask Alexa?
Alexa, order toilet paper.
Amazon's choice for toilet paper is Angel Soft Bath Tissue.
That's cool. Alexa, order a TV.
The top search result for 42-inch TV is simply LCD 43 by 43-inch 1080p LED TV. Should I order it?
Yes.
So what's different? Only one answer. Only one brand of toilet paper. How expensive is it going to be that brand of toilet paper? Very. Right? And guess what? Only 11% of people who get Alexa would ever get a Google device, or vice versa. So voice is going to change how products are sold, how they're bought, and how hard it is to be the one product they recommend. Big disruption. If you don't like change, you're going to like irrelevance even less. We have to adopt change. We have to realize that technique follows technology. Technique follows technology. Technology comes first. But now we're getting the technique for this technology, particularly around new business models. So Uber, the largest limo company, owns no vehicles. Facebook, the world's largest publisher, develops no content. Alibaba, the biggest retailer, has no inventory. Airbnb owns no real estate. What do they own? They own the edge. They own the edge. You see, the edge used to be about being in the Posada, being at First and Main, right? The best location in town. Now the edge, it's about being on the edge of the glass. Because that's where the customer is, whether they're shopping in the store or sitting at home. They're on the edge of the glass. Apps rule the edge. Taco Bell just said they get a 20% higher average order from an app than from the store. Why? Well, because I have all the lists of the products at Taco Bell instead of the 5 that are up on the backboard. And that person behind isn't pushing me, making me go so fast I can wait, and I buy more. Waze, the traffic app, they learn the edge. Now when you're stuck in traffic, they say, how about a donut and a cup of coffee? There's a donut store right next door. GM is doing the same thing with IBM Watson. And they're even using car telematics so they know whether there are 2 people or 1 person in the car, and therefore they'll give you a double coupon or a single coupon. Amazon is really good at the edge. They have this thing called Dash, these little Wi-Fi buttons. Put them around your house. You can put it on your washing machine and press it and order Tide from Amazon. And now they're building an API so the washing machine can order its own detergent whenever it wants from Amazon. Pretty amazing, right? Brother printers are already ordering their own toner, and Britas are ordering their own filters. Do you think you'll reprogram your Brita to order from Walmart? I don't think so. You'll just let it order from Amazon. UPS is worried about 3D printers because if you have a 3D printer in your house, you might not ship the product to your house via UPS. So they put 3D printers in their stores. Amazon did one better. They have a patent on a 3D printer in a truck. So it'll be printing the thing you want while the truck is coming to your house. Wow. The industrial edge, Internet of Things. Companies like Honeywell and GE and others are working on how do we own the industrial edge with sensors and provide solutions. A lot of people are thinking about how to disrupt businesses. They look at traditional businesses and say, your margin is our opportunity. Your margin is our opportunity. They believe in OPA, other people's assets. So I'll give you an example. This is the traditional Amazon business model. And then Jeff said, well, we should sell used books. And his team said, why? He said, look, if we sell used books, we don't have to buy the book, store the book, ship the book. We don't have to finance the inventory and set the price. We'll just do these 4 things and add some amazing software. The advantage, no assets. Fulfillment by Amazon is now half their business. Uber looked at the limo model. They said, well, we don't like this model. We don't want to own cars, license cars, and service cars. The market enforces our brand. Drivers find us. So we'll just find clients, set prices, dispatch, bill and collect, add some software, become the world's largest limo company. Airbnb, same thing. Hotels find us. We're not going to provide security, manage the property, hire the staff. We're not going to set prices. We'll just do these 4 things, add some software, and become the biggest hotel company on earth. What do these companies have in common? No assets. Now, there's also OPI, other people's information. That would be Google. They don't create information, they are an information broker. So by being in the middle, they make hundreds of billions of dollars with other people's information. OPD, other people's data, that's Kayak. We don't own airplanes, we don't own hotels. We just collect the data from everybody else and charge a toll. Created a company worth $1.8 billion. And finally, O&I, outcomes, not iron. So companies like GE get so much data from engines today, they said, instead of spending $10 million to buy an engine, why don't you just buy it by the hour? And we'll sell you 98% uptime or 90% uptime, whatever you want. We can guarantee the uptime because we know so much about the engine, we know when it will fail. Insurance companies are saying, put telematics in your car, I will understand how you drive, and if you're a careful driver, you can get a great discount because now I know how you drive. John Deere and Dow have come together. If you use a John Deere corn drill and Dow fertilizer, they will guarantee your crop output. So they're talking about increased productivity, reduced maintenance, reduced energy, increased safety. Selling outcomes is a new kind of business model based on these disruptive technologies, all about less capital and more speed. Now, do you like this idea or do you hate this idea? Kind of depends on who you are, right? If you're doing it to someone or it's being done to you. So the head of Hilton said Airbnb will never be important 2 years ago. Not saying that today, right? So legacy companies have the brand, they have the customers, they have the supply chain, they have the logistics, but maybe they're not easy. There's a slogan in Silicon Valley, step 1, install software. There is no step 2. That's how easy these new companies are. That's how easy you have to be to displace the traditional company. Because they're playing whack-a-mole trying to fight off the startups. And they can't fight them all, right? As a startup, you have no legacy to protect. You can make quick decisions. You can pivot. You are fearless. As a startup, you're unknown. You have no brand. You have no market power. You have little money. And if you're truthful, you are terrified. Right? So you have some good things because you can change very fast. And you can move more quickly than these big companies. And there are lots of you. And that's how you're successful. Remember, as a big company, their innovation is your disruption. Because disruption and innovation are just two sides of the same coin. You only call it a disruption because you didn't do it. If you did it, it would be an innovation. If they do it, oh, it's a disruption, right? So let's talk about turning disruption off and turning innovation on. Turning innovation on in culture, in teams, in organizations. Maybe we should start with the definition. What is innovation? Creativity is about thinking up new things. Innovation is about doing them. It's about putting ideas to work. So I'm the holder of 4 patents. Not one of them is an innovation because none of them were turned into products. They don't count. You have to do something. And if you've explained your vision and mission to your employees, they're not the 3 blind mice. They probably understand the size of the opportunity ahead of you. And, you know, everybody has some superstars. This is the Tom Cruise of mice, right? He's going to get the cheese, right? And everybody has people who sell the big deal, but we can't build it. We can't get it done. But the real problem in innovation is fear. Most people are afraid to go for it. They're afraid of risk. We had some interesting discussions today about risk in Mexico and the cultural implications of failure. So we're going to talk more about that. Because, you know, entrepreneurship is a high wire act. A lot of people will fail. I actually think that's fine. But some people don't. So if you want success, here's a couple ideas. First of all, the engine of innovation rests on twin pillars. The pillar of culture and the pillar of team. If you get culture and team right, you put gas in the tank of innovation. Because culture eats strategy for lunch. You can have the best strategy in the world. If you don't have the right culture, you're done. You won't get any ideas unless you nurture the flame. Because an idea is a tiny spark. And we're going around the room and somebody says, that's a great idea. If we did that, we could add this, and then we could do that, and we could do this. And somebody says, wait. Let me play devil's advocate for just a moment here. Poof! Candle goes out. Idea is gone. Right? Innovation is not like the Olympics. In the Olympics, you train from when you're 10 to when you're 18. You have 1 6-minute run down the mountain. You come in 4th. Your professional career is over. No, innovation is like baseball. And in baseball, if you fail 70% of the time, you are a superstar. Right? Why? Because you get a lot of chances in baseball. Right? Mike Ditka, the famous U.S. football coach, said success isn't permanent and failure isn't fatal. Success isn't permanent. Failure isn't the end of the world. We have to build a culture of experimentation. So in the ad world, there are writers and there are editors. Writers write, editors pick. Be an editor. These are 4 ads from the last political campaign in the U.S. Which one was best? They all have the same number of words, the same colors. Wasn't this one. Wasn't these 2. This one pulled in 35% more dollars than the other 3. Did they have the world's greatest editor to figure that out? No. ABCD testing. They ran them all for an hour and let the customer decide, right? 20% of what you see at Kayak every day is a test. We are constantly testing, always failing, but continuously learning. And now we can move from ABC testing to AI testing, where we can test millions and millions of pages and images and reviews to find the perfect one. We just did that at a company where we had no rich input at all. We were just testing images. We increased our conversion 10% using AI. So don't write, "We will never change" in the concrete outside your building. Write, "We experiment in the sand and let the water come wash it away," and write it again. And when you fail, and I hope you do, because if you don't fail, you're not experimenting enough, kill projects, not people. Kill projects, not people. I'll give you an example. So early on at Travelocity, back with that slow dial-up internet, I put out a CD-ROM with videos on it because you couldn't send video over the internet back then. I spent $1 million creating the product and getting it in the stores. And I lost $1 million. It was a total failure. And I had to go to my boss, the CFO at American Airlines, and say, "I lost $1 million. I was terrified. You know what he said? He said, "Terry, what did you learn?" Wow. The word spread like wildfire. Terry didn't get fired, right? But also that this guy was a coach. And coaches don't throw people off the team. They work to make the team better. Now, I knew I couldn't lose $1 million again. But his one action began a cultural change. It was very, very important in the creation of Travelocity. We knew we could take risk, fail, and survive. Because your attitude toward risk is so very important. You can't avoid it, you can't reduce it, you can't transfer it. You have to accept it in this new world. So I started my career as a receptionist in a travel agency 45 years ago, answering the phone. 6 months in, my boss said, "Let's go do a startup." So we left. We started a business doing travel to Eastern Europe and the Soviet Union, 1971. You might think that was a big risk. It actually was a small risk. I was single. I was living in an apartment. I wasn't making any money anyway. Right? And we turned that company into the 50th largest travel agency in the United States in 5 years. Then I went to my second startup, a computer company. That company was quickly sold to American Airlines. And I worked my way up the ladder from director to chief information officer. When I was CIO, I took a huge risk. I was married. I had 2 kids, a big salary, a big mortgage. I said, "You know, that tiny little online product we have called Easy Saver, I want to go run that." Everybody said, "You're nuts." I said, "No, I want to go do that." Big risk. And we turned it into Travelocity, and we took it public for $1.2 billion. Big risk, big reward. Now, since that time, I've taken a lot of small risks. I'm an author, a speaker, a venture capitalist. I've been on 13 public and private boards. When I look back at those boards, some of those companies shrank. Some of them completely flamed out. And the rest of them created $6 billion worth of value. Risk, reward. Now I'm all in again with my time and my treasure. I've got a new startup, Wayblazer.ai. People say to me, "Terry, do you have to do another startup?" I said, "No. I have government health care now. I'm retired. I'm 65. I don't have to do a startup. I'm on a pension. I want to do a startup. I want to do another startup. I want to change travel again." So take the first risk. Take the first risk. That's how you begin. And, you know, it also, as a leader, it's about safety. It's providing people safety so they feel safe in taking risk. People will do anything. You can shoot them out of a cannon if there's a net. If there's a net. So you have to provide safety and kill projects, not people. And you can't change a culture sitting in a chair. Changing culture is a contact sport. It's hard. I met somebody today, an entrepreneur, who said, you know, I'm really proud of the culture of my company, and we've just hired somebody who doesn't fit. They're doing their job, but they don't fit. They're kind of against the culture. What should I do? I said, say goodbye to them. You don't want them in your startup. Startups are about culture, and they're about team. It's really all about the team. It's about new world exuberance meeting old world knowledge. So when I started Travelocity, I wanted to hire a bunch of kids from outside American Airlines. And HR said, no, you can't do that. You have to hire from inside. It took me 6 months to convince them. I brought in these kids. They said the industry was broken, only they could fix it. They had messianic zeal, but they didn't know travel. On the other hand, I had the .corp, or you might say the .corps. I had the suits, who said the industry was fine. It didn't need fixing. They worked at a slow pace, but they had domain expertise. They knew travel. You put them together, they fought like cats in a bag. It was crazy. But out of that crucible came a $1.2 billion company. So hire people who aren't like you, people who will disagree with you. Yeah, you have to teach old dogs new tricks, but we have to teach new dogs old tricks anyway. Hire people who don't fit in, people who will argue with you. Would you have hired this guy? He did become the world's richest man. And I got to know Bill Gates pretty well back when he was quite young. And he was wickedly insightful, absolutely brilliant, and just a little odd. You might not have hired Bill Gates. You would have been wrong. The world wants geniuses. It just wants them to behave like other people. They don't. But they will push you. They will challenge you. They will help you be a success. Oh, and keep your team small. Amazon has a great rule, 2 pizza teams. If it takes more than 2 pizzas to feed the team lunch, the team is too big. It's very simple. Big teams don't innovate, little teams do. Right? So, if you have the right culture and you have the right team, how do you get the best idea? Well, where do good ideas come from? I think they come from the bottom. They come from the salesperson talking to the customer, the person in customer service. We started paging people in Travelocity in 1996. That idea came from a customer service agent who got tired of saying, your flight is on time, your flight is on time, your flight is on time. He said, can't we page them? We started sending emails to people when the fare went down. Nobody had ever done that before. That idea came from a programmer. So you have to listen to the people at the bottom, because innovation from the top down is orderly but dumb. And innovation from the bottom up is chaotic but smart. You have to have sentries to listen for what's next. We had a phone booth in the hall at Travelocity. It was a symbol. If you picked it up, you could hear customer service calls. And everybody in the company, from the guy in the mailroom to me, had to listen to 2 customer service calls a month and answer these questions. 1, have we fixed the defect in our company that caused someone to have to call us? And 2, what awesome new ideas did you hear from customers this month? It involved everybody in the company and the customer's pain. And that's so important in an e-commerce business where you don't meet your customer. Everybody involved. Now at Kayak, our CTO said, look, we're a search company, no phones. But we do get emails. And we send the emails to the engineers. You say, wait a minute, engineers doing customer service, isn't that expensive? No, our slogan is give the pain to the people who caused the pain. Right? And it works, right? They fix the bugs and they're close to the customer. And that means that our product is clay in the customer's hands. Here's an example. Kayak's the #1 travel mobile app in the world. We have 55 million users. But when we started, we thought it was about next flight out. It was about a hotel for tonight because the meeting ran over. Turns out, customers used it just like the desktop. They were booking 2.5 weeks out. If we hadn't had short feedback loops, if we hadn't listened to the customer, we would have missed that, and we wouldn't have 55 million customers today. So we had to pivot through listening. Now sometimes you have to look beyond what's immediately apparent. Customers won't tell you what they want, right? I had to go to the executive committee at American Airlines to propose electronic tickets. I said, look, our computers are so smart, we don't need tickets anymore. And they said, wait, our customers want tickets. What will they do for receipts? No one will accept this idea. Leave us. Go from this room. And American was one of the last carriers to accept electronic tickets. And today, of course, this is the only ticket there is. And they not only missed that, they were late to self-service and electronic boarding passes. Why were they late? Because in real innovation, being comfortable isn't good. You have to be uncomfortable. You have to be nervous. Your stomach has to be a little upset every day because you're not sure if you're going to make it. That's when innovation happens, when you're a little bit scared. Now, how do you pick the best idea? Well, it's not easy. You know, if you go to the planetarium and you see this supernova, it happened 1 million years ago. In traditional companies, how much of their revenue is based on an idea that's 20, 30, 40 years old? How long do you think it will last? That's an opportunity for you, right? Because where old models are crumbling, that's where you can succeed. Harvard did a study about innovation. They said in big companies, 70% of innovation is around the core. 20% is around adjacent products. And only 10% is that really radical, crazy stuff. But if you look at future revenue, 70% of future revenue comes from those radical transformation ideas like Travelocity. I mean, Sabre, the company I worked in, automated travel agents. And yet we built Travelocity, which was a direct competitor with travel agents, right? That was pretty radical. Anybody here know what a Swiffer is? Oh, come on, somebody, yeah, a few hands, okay. You know what a Swiffer really is? It's a diaper on a stick. Procter & Gamble makes diapers, they make cleaning chemicals, they poured a bunch of chemicals on a diaper, they rubbed it across the floor, they said, this is awesome. It's a $1 billion business. So do something crazy, okay? Try something out there. You maybe can invent a Swiffer. It takes courage. Don't settle. Steve Jobs used to say, I love to go to car shows. He said, I love those concept cars. They're so cool. I want to buy one, but you can't buy them. He said, how come when they come out 3 years later, they look like crap? How did he take phones that look like this and make phones that look like this? 2 ways, I think. First of all, clarity. Extreme clarity of where he wanted to go. And then relentless focus on getting there. Clarity and focus. Some of the entrepreneurs I talked to today were absolutely clear where they wanted to go. They needed more focus. Other people weren't sure yet. Don't start until you have absolute clarity on where you're going. Are you discouraged? Look, you don't have to change the world to cause disruption. Think about contact lenses, totally disrupted eyewear. We buy them in the same places we bought glasses. Same thing with phones. The companies have new names. They didn't change the world. Part of the tradition is still there. Travelocity, a registered travel agent. We just sold differently. We sold online. We didn't change everything. Apple did not invent the MP3 player nor the cell phone. They just made them really awesome to become the most valuable company on earth. So you need a plan B, right? Kayak, $1.8 billion. All we did was offer choice of where you bought. You could buy from Orbitz, you could buy from American, you could buy from cheap tickets. I worked for a while on the board of a company called LuxuryLink, the only company online to offer hotel auctions. Small change, big company. Smart destination bundles attractions. So if you go to Boston, for one price, you can go to the JFK Museum, take the duck tour, see the Old North Church, do it all. They bundle. We just sold that company for $55 million. You don't have to change everything. And you may think, well, but innovation is expensive. But you know, today, you can do more with less. And that's really a story that we learned at Kayak. So Kayak started with the traditional VC dinner and a napkin. A VC, the guy who started Expedia, the guy who started Orbitz, and the guy who started Travelocity. We had dinner. And we said, you know, our customers are getting smarter. First, they go to Travelocity and Expedia to get price. Then they go to American and Marriott to buy. Now, I know none of you have ever done that, but a lot of people do that. So we said, let's create a company where we search everything, but you can click and buy direct. That's Kayak. But I said more with less. When Travelocity went public, we had 3,000 people. We grew through traditional advertising, print and TV. We had 2,000 people in customer service. We were travel agents, and we were profitable. Kayak went public with 220 people. We grew through search. We didn't have customer service. We were a search company, and we were exceptionally profitable. We did more with less because now there are tools to allow us to do that. Yes, Steve and Steve started Apple in a garage, but Zuck started Facebook in a dorm room. You can do more with less. And as you think of what you want to do as entrepreneurs, don't recreate the past with tools of the future. Reimagine what the business can be. There's a story about Chuck Hull. Chuck invented 3D printing. And the story goes he was looking at a CNC machine. Those are machines that take big blocks of steel and subtract to create gears. And he said, what if there was an additive machine that took nothing and started adding up? And he looked at an inkjet printer and then invented the 3D printer. And now we're making parts for airlines and parts for dishwashers and toys at home for kids. And customization becomes the norm. And we can reimagine what we can do because everybody is a maker. So now we're making hands for kids who never had a hand. And they're making an ear with a skin printer that can hear. We've had radio-controlled airplanes for a long time. But it took Jordi Munoz, who was immigrating to the United States, and he was waiting for his green card, and he couldn't work, and he took apart his Nintendo. And he based the computer controls together to make the first computer-controlled small drone. And of course, when drones came out, we just recreated the past. We said instead of a crop duster, we can have a drone crop duster. Well, that's okay. But then somebody said, let's think about the farmer, and they reimagined what a drone could do, and they said a drone could not only dust for crops, it could use infrared to show whether the crops need more water and need more fertilizer. That's reimagining what we can do. The last 25 years were about who could build things the cheapest. The next 25 years are about who could build things the smartest. So let me end with a story about change. Growing up, my son was not the boy genius. He was not a nerd. He was just a kid who liked to play massively multiplayer video games where you play people all over the world. And when he was a sophomore in high school, he and a bunch of friends created a game called Day of Defeat about June 6, 1944, the invasion of Normandy. That one was when he was a sophomore in high school. By the time he was a sophomore in college, 50,000 people a day were playing his game. And he called me up and he said, Dad, somebody wants to buy the game for $300,000. What should I do? I said, you should sell. You're in college. I need the money. And he did sell. But the cool thing is, the company was created by 5 kids from Europe, 5 kids from the U.S., 1 kid from Canada. They never met. They created this virtual company entirely through IM and chat. Think of how different that is from the way companies used to be created. Now, there's a coda to this story because after he finished college, he went to work at Sony Games and then EA, the world's largest game company. What an opportunity for a gamer, right? But he got frustrated about the size of the company, and so a few years ago, he and 3 of his friends created their own game company. And they eventually launched their game called Into the Stars. How do 4 guys compete with EA? Well, they raised their money through Kickstarter. They worked in their apartments. They crowdsourced their team. They used social to get their customers. Their IT was in the cloud. You as entrepreneurs can do this. Those of you in big companies can do it too. Shell has its own Kickstarter. We started the business part of Travelocity with a bunch of guys we kicked out of corporate headquarters and put them in an apartment. You can crowdsource many of the skills you need. It does work. And by the way, because I gave the most to Kickstarter, my son made me the admiral in his game. I kill your planet. Now, in the end, his company failed. They only sold, last count, now I think it's up to $500,000. You know, a nice bit of money, but not enough to keep 4 people and have overhead. But did Ben fail? He immediately got a better job than he'd ever had in gaming. People hired him right away. They said, look, these 4 guys took on giants and they did okay. They produced a great game. It wasn't a hit, but games are a hit business like movies. Not everyone works. So you can succeed even though you fail. Let's review. Now, the best way to review is to buy my book, available wherever books are sold. But we learned that technique follows technology. Takes a while for a technique to come around. But we know we live in a wired world where information has found its freedom and buyers have more power than ever before. It's a world of speed, simplicity, and convenience. There's the man right there, going to do speed and convenience for invoicing, right? That's what he's going to do, speed and convenience. Build the right culture, build the right team. Provide a culture where people aren't afraid to go for it, where an idea can exist, where you can experiment, build prototypes to reduce risk, fail fast, kill projects, not people. And there's where you can get the slides. Show that some more. Remember, mix it up. Get people who aren't like you, people who will challenge you, and keep teams small. And do more with less. Now, remember that disruption and innovation are two sides of the same coin. It's only a disruption if you don't do it. So stop being disruptive and innovate. Now with that, I wish I could say I cleared the radar screen of business. But the radar screen of business looks like this. We have to navigate the storms. New opportunities lie where old models are crumbling. Navigate the storms. Find the opportunity. I wish there was a button for innovation on the keyboard, but there isn't. And I know being an entrepreneur is a tough job. I've done it myself. But it isn't the toughest job. They have the toughest job. They're the great Walindas, the world's best wire act. They perform without a net. You know what their mission statement is? You fall, you die. They have a tough job. You don't have a tough job. You can do this. Ronald Reagan said, when we come to the edge of the known world, we're standing on the shores of the infinite. That's where we are right now. That's why at 69 years old, I got a new startup. Because I'm so excited I could change the world again. Just remember that change is inevitable. But growth is optional. Growth is up to you. Have a great 2017. Thank you very much. So, are we going to do some preguntas?
Yes.
Or are we done?
Do you have any questions?
We have, I know it's late, and well, it's not late in here, but I'm happy to answer questions if anybody has them. I know it was a long speech. I hope you found it useful. Come on, someone have courage. I told you to have courage. Yes, ma'am.
But let me get you the microphone.
So the Facebook people can hear. Yeah. So this is where you get the slides, TB Jones, and where you can tweet about me, I hope. Yes?
What makes you invest in other startup? And the startup is not your startup.
Oh, sure. And I invest, frequently, I guess I'd say. Look, you invest in people and the idea. So they get a great idea, and you don't think the person can do it. Or it's a great person and a bad idea. So it's really about the person and the idea. Obviously, there are lots of other things. How big is the market? How is the product priced? We talked about a product today I thought was exciting. I think it's too expensive for the market. There are lots of pieces, but the key things are it's a great leader with a great team and a killer idea. Those are the two most important things to convince. And then, is the market now, and is the market big enough so I'm going to get my money back, right? And I know I'm going to fail 8 out of 10 times, so I'm waiting for those last 2, right now. Maybe they'll happen soon. Who else? Anybody else have a question?
Thank you.
Yes, sir. They're going to bring you a microphone.
Hi, Terry. How soon do you know whether a startup is working or failing? If it's a new market, it's hard to have the metrics to measure certain things. Here in Mexico, a lot of people will tell you your idea is great, but they won't necessarily use the product. So it's hard to measure when you hitting a brick wall or when to stop? How do you tell?
Is your product business to business or to consumer?
Our customer is a business,
Yeah.
but we target consumers as well.
B2B2C. So, of course, they want the free trial, right? Well, it's hard. My AI company, very hard to know. You know if after, some months and you're running low on money, people still want free trials, means you don't have proof points in the market. If you don't have proof points, you can't go to the next guy and say, no, there's no free trial. It works. We proved it here at Company A and Company B. You pay or, I'll give you 30 days, but that's it. If you can't do that after, you've raised your initial money, it's probably not going to work. Now, normally, either the market tells you you're done or your investors do. So your investors run out of heart and they won't give you any more money. It happens a lot. Henry Ford had 4 failed companies before he started Ford. And it wasn't always his fault. He was very early in cars. It doesn't mean your idea is wrong. You may be too early. You may not be the right person. You may not know how to market the idea. There are lots of ways there are 100 ways to fail. But usually the market tells you when you're done. And sometimes you have to pivot and get new investors and keep trying. But, what you don't want to be is that guy on Shark Tank who presents and all 5 people say they're out and he says, you're all wrong, I'm going on. No, he's wrong. If everybody says no, you're wrong. You just got to say, okay, I tried. It's like my son. Hey, we had a good game. We played hard. We lost the game. Happens. Anything else? Maybe we take one more, if there is one more. Going once, going twice. All right, thank you very much. Good evening.